Hello, squirrel listeners. Just looked at myself and noticed I didn't have earrings. But at least I had my teeth in. I did pop on here again the other day and started to read and did not have teeth in. Throw that one away. Hello, squirrel. Chapter 4 of Year 3 in Anne of Windy Poplars. Okay, Chapter 4. Mr. Grand had talked himself out and bowed himself away and stood for a moment on the doorstone, wondering uneasily where her charges were. Oh my gosh, those kids gonna be in trouble. Up the street and in at the gate came a wrathful lady, guess who? Leading a forlorn and still sobbing atom of humanity by the hand. Little Trent girl. Miss Shirley, where is Mrs. Raymond? Demanded Mrs. Trent. Mrs. Raymond is... I insist on seeing Mrs. Raymond. She shall see with her own eyes what her children have done to poor helpless innocent Ivy. Look at her, Miss Shirley. Just look at her. Oh, Mrs. Trent, I'm so sorry. It's all my fault. Mrs. Raymond is away, and I promised to look after them, but Mr. Grand came. No, it isn't your fault, Miss Shirley. I don't blame you. No one can cope with those diabolical children. The whole street knows of them. If Mrs. Raymond isn't here, there's no point in my remaining. I shall take my poor child home, but Mrs. Raymond, she'll hear of this, indeed she shall. Listen to that, Miss Shirley. Are they tearing each other limb from limb? That was a chorus of shrieks, howls, and yells that came echoing down the stairs. Anne ran upwards. On the hall floor was a twisting, writhing, biting, tearing, scratching mass. Anne separated the furious twins with difficulty, and holding each firmly by a squirming shoulder, demanded the meaning of such behavior. She says I've got to be Ivy Trent's beau, snarled Gerald. So he has got to be, screamed Geraldine. I won't be. You've got to be. Children, said Anne. Something in her tone quelled them. They looked at her and saw a Miss Shirley they had not seen before. For the first time in their young lives, they felt the force of authority. You, Geraldine, said Anne quietly, will go to bed for 2 hours. You, Gerald, will spend the same length of time in the hall closet. Not a word. You have behaved abominably, and you must take your punishment. Your mother left you in my charge, and you will obey me. Then punish us together, said Geraldine, beginning to cry. Yes, you've no right to separate us. We've never been separated, muttered Gerald. You will be now. Anne was still very quiet. Meekly, Geraldine took off her clothes and got into one of the cots in their room. Meekly, Gerald entered the hall closet. It was a large, airy closet with a window and a chair, and nobody could have called it punishment, an unduly severe one. I thought at first it was pretty bad. Anne locked the door and sat down with a book by the hall window. At least for 2 hours she would know a little peace of mind. A peep at Geraldine a few minutes later showed her to be sound asleep, looking so lovely in her sleep that Anne almost repented her sternness. Well, a nap would be good for her anyway. When she wakened, she should be permitted to get up, even if the 2 hours had not expired. At the end of an hour, Geraldine was still sleeping. Gerald had been so quiet that Anne decided that he had taken his punishment like a man and might be forgiven. There's a window in there, though. I wonder if he climbed out. After all, Ivy Trent was a vain little monkey and probably had been very irritating. Anne unlocked the closet door and opened it. There was no Gerald in the closet. I knew it. The window was open, and the roof of the side porch was just beneath it. Anne's lips tightened. She went downstairs and out into the yard. No sign of Gerald. She explored the woodshed and looked up and down the street. Still no sign. She ran through the garden and through the gate into the lane that led through a patch of scrub woodland to a little pond in Mr. Robert Creedmore's field. Gerald was happily poling himself about on it in a small flat Mr. Creedmore kept there. Just as Anne broke through the trees, Gerald's pole, which he had stuck rather deep in the mud, came away with unexpected ease at his third tug, and Gerald promptly shot heels over head backward into the water. Anne gave an involuntary shriek of dismay, but there was no real cause for alarm. The pond at its deepest would not come up to Gerald's shoulders. And where he had gone over it was a little deeper than his waist. He had somehow got on his feet and was standing there rather foolishly, with his aureole plastered drippingly down on his head. That's a hat. When Anne's shriek was re-echoed behind her, and Geraldine in her nightgown tore through the trees and out to the edge of the little wooden platform to which the flat was commonly moored. With a despairing shriek of "Gerald!" she took a flying leap that landed her with a tremendous splash by Gerald's side and almost gave him another ducking. "Gerald, are you drowned?" cried Geraldine. "Are you drowned, darling?" "No, no, darling," Gerald assured her through his chattering teeth. They call each other darling. They embraced and kissed passionately. "Children, come in here this minute," said Anne. They waded to the shore. The September day, warm in the morning, had turned cold and windy in the late afternoon. They shivered terribly. Their faces were blue. Anne, without a word of censure, hurried them home, got off their wet clothes, and got them into Mrs. Raymond's bed with hot water bottles at their feet. I would think she'd put them in a hot bath first. They still continued to shiver. Had they got a chill? Were they headed for pneumonia? "You should have taken better care of us, Miss Shirley," said Gerald, still chattering. "Course you should," said Geraldine. A distracted Anne flew downstairs and telephoned for the doctor. By the time he came, the twins had got warm, and he assured Anne that they were in no danger. If they stayed in bed till tomorrow, they would be all right. He met Mrs. Raymond coming up from the station on the way back, and it was a pale, almost hysterical lady who presently rushed in. "Oh, Miss Shirley, how could you have let my little treasures get into such danger?" "That's just what we told her, Mother," chorused the twins. "I trusted you. I told you." "I hardly see how I was to blame, Mrs. Raymond," said Anne, with eyes as cold as gray mist. "You will realize this, I think, when you are calmer. The children are quite all right. I simply sent for a doctor as a precautionary measure. If Gerald and Geraldine had obeyed me, this would not have happened." "I thought a teacher would have a little authority over children," said Miss Rachel bitterly. "Over children, perhaps, but not young demons," thought Anne. She should have said it. She said only, "Since you are here, Mrs. Raymond, I think I will go home. I don't think I can be of any further service, and I have some schoolwork to do this evening." As one of the twins heard themselves out of bed and flung their arms around her. "I hope there'll be a funeral every week," cried Gerald, "'cause I like you, Miss Shirley, and I hope you'll come and look after us every time Mother goes away." "So do I," said Geraldine. "I like you so much better than Miss Prouty." "Oh, ever so much," said Geraldine. "Will you put us in a story?" demanded Gerald. "Oh, do," said Geraldine. "I'm sure you meant well," said Mrs. Raymond tremulously. "Thank you," said Anne icily, trying to detach the twins' clinging arms. "Oh, don't let's quarrel about it," begged Mrs. Raymond, her enormous eyes filling with tears. "I can't endure quarreling with anybody." "Certainly not," Anne was at her stateliest, and Anne could be very stately. I don't think there is the slightest necessity for quarreling. I think Gerald and Geraldine have quite enjoyed the day, though I don't suppose poor little Ivy Trent did. Anne went home feeling years older. To think I ever thought Davy was mischievous, she reflected. She found Rebecca in the twilight garden gathering late pansies. Rebecca, do I used to think the adage children should be seen and not heard entirely too harsh, but I see its points now. My poor darling, I'll get you a nice supper, said Rebecca Do, and did not say I told you so. Oh, mercy. I got the driest mouth in the world, and I got my tea here, but let's see. I'm afraid gulp. I'm on my Chromebook, so I'm kindly afraid it might cut off on me, so I think I'll just stop there. That was a pretty good chapter. Okay, see you later. I'll be on live at 3 today. Tea at 3. No StreamYard. Just little old me. I hope yesterday was better as far as me being concerned, but there was that buzzing noise that was horrible. I don't know. And poor Lisa was down in the basement. She was in the sub-basement. I couldn't even see that she was there. Anyway, let me let y'all go. And again, I hope to see you at 3. Tea at 3. But wasn't it exciting that Krista came yesterday at the beginning of the StreamYard, and then Crystal came. Be sweet, don't be ugly. Who knows who might come today? Maybe Urban Gary or Lamone. See y'all later. Love ya. Bye-bye.